Tonight we're having the Maury County Trump Supporters Rally. The rally is being hosted by Congressman Andy Ogles, State Senator Joey Hensley, State Representative Scott Cepicky, and State Representative Kip Capley. They're the sponsors and hosts tonight. I'm Rick Williams, and we're so glad to have people here tonight. We've got a huge crowd. We have Trump signs available, Trump caps, all kind of things. We've got a free barbecue meal. I'm sorry you missed it, but we're having a great crowd tonight. This is for the Trump supporters to come together and get ready for the March presidential primary. It's only 4 months and about 2 weeks away. So it's closer than anybody thinks. It's the first week of March, March the 5th, and people tend to think that's a long way off, but I looked at the calendar day. We're talking 4 months and about 2 weeks. So we need to get ready. Trump supporters need to get their signs out, show that support early. There are plenty of us out there. We've got, I also want to mention here in Maury County on November the 4th, starting at 9 a.m. at the Harley-Davidson dealership out on Bear Creek by I-65. We're going to have a Bikers for Trump rally, but you don't have to have a bike to come. Everybody's welcome there. It's going to be a rally for Trump starting at 9, and they're going to have a sign up, and I think the bikes are going to pull out about 11, and they'll be back about 2, and we'll have some door prizes between 2 and 3. So anytime that day, there'll be Trump supporters there. You'll be able to buy a hat, a sign, whatever you'd like to put in your yard. We try to keep this reasonably priced where working folks like us can afford to have a sign or a cap on, and we would love for you to come out and be there. We'll have shirts, T-shirts, and sweatshirts that day too.
Where are we at tonight?
Tonight, we're in the Memorial Building on West 7th Street in downtown Columbia. And we rented out this building, and it is absolutely full. If you get a chance, if you can turn the camera around at some point and show that mural up there, what a great crowd, what a great event. And Trump supporters are alive and well in Maury County. Thank you very much. We hope we'll see you on November the 4th. Come out to the Harley-Davidson dealership. We'll start about 9. We'll have a program and be talking. And then the bikes will ride off, and I'm sure they'll all have Trump flags. And
what date is it again?
November 4th.
November 4th.
At 9 a.m. at the Harley-Davidson dealership here in Columbia.
All right. Okay, we're going to show some of the speakers tonight. Who are the speakers tonight?
The speakers tonight will be, the sponsors will be State Representative Kip Capley, State Representative Scott Cepicky, State Senator Joey Hensley, and then our featured speaker is Steve Gill, former radio talk show host, personality. Actually ran for Congress one time near here in Marshall County. I think it was one of the counties. He ran back when, unfortunately, the Democrats controlled everything, and he didn't win. But
right.
He was a great candidate, great speaker, huge Trump supporter, and we look forward to having him tonight speak.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to cover that, and even though the audio might not be the greatest, it's going to be what it is. So
okay.
We'll do that. So
yes,
thank you very much for your time.
You.
Yep. Okay, that's going to be coming up here shortly. Everybody's still getting the food. If you want to come down, it's still. I think they're letting people in still. We got some spots left maybe, and they have food here. They got barbecue, and it's going to be a great night. And we're going to come back in just a few. Keep this. If you're watching this, or if you're seeing this later, come back to this channel, and you'll be able to see what we're doing here, and you'll be able to hear the speakers, and it's just going to be a good night. So come back soon. Actually, I'm gonna go talk to Kip and see what he has to say. Kip Capley.
Yes, sir.
We're live, brother. What's going on?
We're just living the dream. We got a packed house for this Trump rally, and just trying to get people out to vote.
I'm getting close because my audio is probably not great because of it's getting it from my camera here. So we're gonna. What's going on here?
Well, we got, like I said, it's a packed room. We got this Trump rally going. We're trying to get folks excited for Trump. Obviously, that's who we're supporting in the primary. That's who we want to get out and change kind of the track of this country right now. Biden's destroying the nation. Obviously, we just saw that we lost the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon. Israel is just getting slaughtered. Babies, women, and children are getting overrun. Our national policy obviously is not where it needs to be. Our foreign policy is a mess. The economy is a mess. Inflation's unlike anything we've ever seen. Our country's is headed toward a really bad direction. The thing that I try to tell folks is that obviously Tennessee's going to go red, right? Tennessee's going to go Republican. It doesn't matter what the media is going to tell you. We're not a swing state. We're going to go Republican. But the thing that I like to tell folks is that you can get involved in other states. You can volunteer with your local party, with the Tennessee Republican Party, and you can make calls, you can door knock, you can travel to these swing states like Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Iowa, some of these other states that are swing states for Trump that we need to have a Republican base in, that our folks can go. I've got people from the 71st District that are going to go, that are volunteering, making calls. That's what's really important about this movement, is getting involved in those other states. Obviously, we want to keep Tennessee red. We want to vote conservative, and we're going to do that, but we also have to help the other states to let them know we're not putting up with this anymore. We're not putting up with it anymore, John. We're tired of it. It's a mess. We're just headed for disaster. I mean, the only person that can change this around right now, I think personally, is Donald Trump. He's the only one that can do it, especially in the White House. We have to keep control of the House. We have to take the Senate back, federally, obviously. We have to keep our supermajority in the House and the state, in the Senate. So we're trying to get people active. That's what we're trying to do, John.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I think we're getting started here. I'm going to go ahead and tune in to see what's going on here.
Brady Carr is still here? Come up here. I want you to lead the pledge, please. Would you? I'd like to thank David Baker for giving our prayer before we started eating tonight. David, thank you very much. Brady Carr, if everyone to stand, we'll have a pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brady. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brady knows how to operate this sound system. That's one reason I wanted him here tonight, because he did a good job the other night. How many were at the Reagan Day dinner last Saturday night? Who was there? Oh, that was great. I tell you, that was great. We had a great time, good crowd, and we certainly want you to come to all the Republican Party meetings once a month they have here. My name is Rick Williams, and I've been involved with the Trump campaign off and on since 2015 when I co-chaired the campaign in Nashville. I was co-chair of Nashville-Davidson County in 2015-2016. I held probably the largest rally for President Trump the Sunday before the November election in 2020. We had about 3,000 people out in a parking lot near Opryland. Congressman Green was our guest speaker. We had a great time then. And so I've gone about now trying to have these rallies in every county to bring Trump supporters together and let everybody know we're here, we're still alive, we're ready. You all realize the presidential preference primary in Tennessee is about 4 months and 2 weeks away. And it's going to get lost in Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and then all at once, and right after New Year's, it's just 2 months away. It's the first week in March. So I've been having some of these across Middle Tennessee to get everybody geared up before Thanksgiving. We're going to try to have these. So let me announce tonight, Ricky Kelly in the back. Raise your hand, Ricky. Ricky Kelly owns the Harley-Davidson dealership here. He was also the top bidder on the gun the other night at the auction. We appreciate him doing that and helping us raise money. Many of you have heard of the Bikers for Trump. You've seen on Facebook, people that ride motorcycles. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Mr. Johnson, who works for Ricky Kelly, and I don't think he's ever seen anybody ride up to the dealership with a Biden shirt on, riding their motorcycle. We just don't think that anybody that rides a Harley is a Biden supporter. We started to even maybe think about offering a reward of $100 if a Biden supporter would show up on a Harley, because we don't think they exist. So, because of that, on November the 4th at 9 o'clock at his dealership, we're going to have a Bikers for Trump rally. So bikers will be coming in all morning and registering, and I think about 11 o'clock they'll pull out and they'll have about a 2-hour ride through Middle Tennessee. and they'll arrive back about between 1 and 2, and then we'll be giving some door prizes away for the ones that rode. But anytime during that day you want to come out, we'll be out there. But I think it would be fun to either get there when the bikers are arriving and see them come in, or watch them leave about 11, or come back in the afternoon. But we will probably have bikers from all over Middle Tennessee. I'm still affiliated with, I'm friends with the gentleman in, I think, South Carolina that founded Bikers for Trump. And so I'm going to get it out to him to put it out through their network. I hope we'll have a real good crowd then. Again, I'm Rick Williams, but my day job, I work for Congressman Andy Ogles now. So I want to let y'all know the latest from Washington. Last I heard, Steve, help me if you've heard different, they were going for a third vote on Speaker. The conservative folks like Andy turned down the deal to make Patrick McHenry, to make him like a Speaker pro tem and give him more power, and they felt like that was just an extension of McCarthy and Scalise. Yeah. So they turned that down. Have they started the third vote yet? Anybody know? Somebody check Newsmax. Let me know. I've been so consumed with this, trying to get everything together. On the front end right now, I want Lana to stand up, Cindy, Jenny, y'all stand up first, okay? These three ladies, we've been coordinating this all week, last several weeks. And now I want all of Murray County, the Republican women of Murray County to stand up, where you are. All right. All of you. We got in here about 4:15 today, and nothing you see was here. I mean, nothing. No tablecloths, not all the tables were out, and these people hit here. There's some gentlemen, all you guys that were here then that helped. I see one in the back. Y'all stay, if you were here around 4 to 5 and you helped, just stand up right now. Yeah. Take them back. Thank you. It wouldn't be possible. I couldn't do any of this without those folks, and I want to thank all of you for that. We have sponsors tonight, besides Congressman Ogles being one of the sponsors. The next people who are going to speak are the three sponsors. I do need to introduce a couple of people before I do that. Brittany Montgomery. Yes, Brittany, please stand up. Brittany works for U.S. Senator Bill Hagerty. He's been all over the radio today. I heard him on 997 driving down here. And he's all over the Biden administration. Of course, that's easy to do. There's plenty to talk about with that. But anyway, newest addition to the Ogles team, Kyle Wheeler. And Amy Lewis was here. Amy, where'd you go? Oh, here you are. Here, you moved over here. I'm sorry. Amy Lewis. Kyle and Amy both work for Congressman Ogles. They work with me. We're a team, and we try to do a good job for everybody. Our three sponsors tonight are State Representative Kip Capley in the back. Kip, come on up. Come on up. I can say a couple words. State Representative Scott Sapicki, who will go next. State Senator Jody Henson will go next. And then Senator Henson will introduce our guest tonight. One other thing I just remembered, the pretty mural behind me. How do y'all like that? Is that beautiful? The same artist did this flag over here. You see the flag on the wall? He did that. And so we have information about him. If you want to purchase something from him, personally, I'm going to try to get him to make that into a print that he can sell for $20 or $25. I know a couple years ago we had an artist do that, and we couldn't keep them fast enough. So I hope he'll do that, but if you want information about the artist that did this and that, Lulu Elam, please stand up a minute. Lulu. She was responsible for getting us here tonight. And she's also a delegate to be a Trump delegate. I'm going to have her come up after a while. So I think we have 3 people that are candidates for delegate for Trump. They'll speak after Steve Gill gets through. We'll try to get you out of here by 4, I'm sorry, okay. 4 people here for delegate, but we're going to try to get you out of here no later than 8, maybe before. But we appreciate you coming out on a work night, and now State Representative Kip Capley.
everybody hear me all right? I hate a microphone. I can't stand it. Let me paint a picture for you. We got a war going on in Israel where women and children are being slaughtered. We got inflation that's the highest it's ever been. Our economy is in a tank. Recruitment in the military is at an all-time low. All-time low. A majority of the recruitment in the United States comes from the Southeast, where you're sitting. It's down. It's the lowest it's ever been. You can fact check that. I'm telling you the truth. We've got men that are going in women's bathrooms. We got people that think that there need to be tampons in men's restrooms. We got people that are trying to take your Second Amendment away from you every single day. Every day. We got people out here that are hungry, that are starving, that can't get employed, and we're giving free handouts to these individuals, we don't even know where they're from, that are coming over a wide open border. It's pitiful. It's disgusting. A wide open border. 5 years ago, fentanyl was $80 a pen head. The head of a pen. $80 a pen head. It's so cheap now, they're running it over the border, it's everywhere. There's been enough fentanyl that's crossed over the border of the southern United States to kill every single person in the U.S. 5 times over. What's Joe Biden doing about it? Nothing. Not a single thing. This past election, we tried to tell people, we tried to warn them, if you don't re-elect Donald Trump, this country is going to go to pot. And what has happened? It's gone to pot. It's gone to pot. Here we are, right? So what do you do? What do you do when the government's taking more money out of your pocket than ever? What do you do when our border's wide open? What do you do when we have zero control over foreign policy overseas? Nothing. We've got Americans overseas that have been slaughtered, and our federal administration has done nothing but failed. Not a thing. We lost the embassy in Lebanon. We've provided nothing for Israel. Nothing. I say turn them loose. Let Israel defend themselves. If you need help, let us know. What happened to common sense? I don't understand. What happened to American allies having the support of the White House? Where did that go? I don't understand. I don't get it. Now look, I'm just an old country boy from Lawrence County that got lucky, and now I'm elected. But I'm telling you, common sense goes a long, long way, okay? This is what we need y'all to do. We have to do this. I'm not saying we need to do it. I'm telling you we have to do it. You have to get involved with the state party, and you have to volunteer in these swing states. You can make calls sitting at home. You can send out emails sitting at home. We have to call the swing states. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Georgia now. You can thank Biden for that one too. Okay? Georgia. It's now blue. Georgia. Okay? And I'm not a Bulldogs fan. I'm a Tennessee fan. Not looking forward to that one. But we'll be okay. All right? Look. You have to get involved with the state party. I'm all about getting involved here and rallying together and supporting Trump. We know Tennessee's going to be ruined. We have to keep it that way. Everybody knows that. You have to reach out to people in the swing states, or we are not going to have a country anymore, I promise you. If Donald Trump does not win this next election, I'm telling you, as I'm standing here right now, we are going to be done. We're done. We cannot survive it anymore. We can't. I don't know how we survived this far. I really don't. I'm embarrassed of the White House. I really am. I'm sorry. I'm still a proud American. I stand for the flag. I kneel for the cross. But I am embarrassed to see Joe Biden leading the most powerful free country in the world. It's embarrassing. You have to get involved with your state party. You have to. You have to make calls. You have to make emails. If you can travel, please do it. If you need any help doing that, please let me know. I've got several connections. I know Rick can help. Representative Pickey can help. Senator Joey Hensley can help. Please, if you're interested in that, we have to move forward and get these swing states to vote red, or we're done, I promise you. It's over. It's done. I love y'all. It's one of the greatest honors of my life to serve you in the General Assembly. If you ever need me, please get my cell phone number before you leave here. I've got some signs and some other stuff. It really is a true honor to serve y'all. Thank you so much.
Scott Sapicki. I'm your state representative from Murray County, District 64. I could go on and tell you about how Senator Hensley and myself made sure that boys didn't play girls' sports. I could talk about how we passed bills to make sure that boys stay out of girls' bathrooms and locker rooms, right? And I can go on and on and on and tell you about the legislation that we've passed over the last 5 years, Senator and myself working hand in hand together to stand on the wall for you in Tennessee and push back against the liberal left and say the word no. We're not going down that road. And if you don't like it, come get it. So let me tell you something. Tennessee is not the problem, folks. Tennessee is not the problem. We have to go convince our brothers and sisters in other parts of this country to see the light, like a lot of our brethren from California have and from New York have, right? Come see the light that's in Tennessee. Come live with freedom again. Experience what freedom is. We don't need to convince the people of Tennessee that Donald Trump's the solution to the problem. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Georgia, Arizona. Those are the states that are going to pick the next president. You have to be willing, and there were some of you here that traveled to other states on your time to convince our fellow citizens, our brethren and sisters in this country of ours, that there is light at the end of this very, very dark tunnel. This is a biblical battle. If you don't think it is,
Yeah, that's right.
you aren't paying attention.
That's right.
In Tennessee, we passed legislation because we have the Constitution and morality on our side that Senator Hensley and I and Representative Capley, we argue for. The Constitution and morality. And it's going to take us in Tennessee, like we did before when we shared one of our 4 stars with Texas. Remember we had 4? We gave Texas 1. Right? A Lone Star State. Right? We are going to have to stand in the lurch and convince our brothers and sisters in other parts of this country that you can make a difference in your state. And you can elect Donald Trump to be the president to close the border, to get rid of these illegals from our country. To tell Russia and Ukraine and Hamas and Hezbollah and the Chinese, this all stops under his watch. We all know that if Donald J. Trump was president right now, we would not be having these issues in the world. I can go on, but Senator Hensley has to follow me, so I know I have to take care of my senator and make sure he's got something to talk about. Joey Hensley and I have worked in the General Assembly together for the last 5 years. You know most of the legislation that I've carried protecting our state. Senator Hensley's been the co-sponsor in the Senate on every one of them, pushed them through the Senate. Amen. I give you the greatest senator in the state of Tennessee, Joey Hensley.
Your support, and thank you for being here tonight. We're all very fortunate that we live in the great state of Tennessee. And just like Scott and Kip said, we are privileged and honored, and we don't have to worry about a lot of the things other states do. We see people coming from other states, California, New York, Florida, Michigan, to Tennessee because of what we have in this great state. We have liberty, we have freedom, we protect our Second Amendment rights, we protect the rights of women and girls' sports. Like Scott had mentioned, we were honored to sponsor legislation to protect women's sports and keep biological males out of it. And we're trying to improve our education system in Tennessee. But thank you all for allowing inviting me to represent you in the Senate and be able to work with Scott and Kip is truly a great honor and a privilege. And thank you for taking the time to come out here tonight. You could be doing something else. You could be home listening to Biden's speech about now. Tell to be here. So thank you for that. And as they've already mentioned, we have to get out and work hard. Trump's going to carry Tennessee, but there are areas in Tennessee that are still Democratic bastions in Memphis and Nashville, and we want to keep them there and even make some of those areas into Republican areas, because we don't want to lose our state. We have to be vigilant, we have to watch, and we have to continue to elect conservatives to our state legislature, and so that we have conservative voices for us in the legislature. And it's my privilege, speaking of conservative, to introduce our key speaker tonight. Most of you know Steve Gill. He's a conservative icon on the radio for many years, and he's one of the reasons that we don't have a state income tax in Tennessee. Steve, many years ago, Steve ran for Congress back when Democrats still controlled a lot of the congressional seats. Steve, thank you for all you've done over the years, and we're honored to have Steve Gill here tonight to speak to us. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Joy. You guys have no idea how blessed you are to have leaders like Kip and Joey and Scott to represent you. I travel the state a lot. I speak to groups all over the state. There aren't three finer men, there aren't three finer conservatives, there aren't three finer Christians who are representing you in the legislature. By the way, Kip and Scott, there are two guys named Justin out in the parking lot looking for them. I You know, when we watched the chaos going on in Congress and we saw what was going on in the Tennessee legislature, again, we're even more blessed to have guys like these who are representing us, who are upholding not only values but also just respect for their institutions, for the state of Tennessee, for the country. And again, I can't say enough about them. I'm looking forward to the bikers rally for Trump. I think Biden's already got a big wheelie. He's going to try to maneuver. He can barely walk. Maybe one of those big wheelies like we had as kids might be appropriate for him. There is just so much to say about this nitwit. I don't know if you saw his little press conference on Air Force One coming back from Israel, and first of all, he's mumbling, and who knows what he's going to say tonight. But when he talked about the fact that it appears clear now that this rocket that hit the hospital parking lot that we now know killed about 40 or 50, not 500 to 700, as MSNBC was telling us. But as he's babbling on about that, he talks about the fact that the Palestinians need to learn to shoot straighter. What kind of sick, disgusting piece of excrement do we have in the White House that thinks the answer to what happened with that horrific incident that was overplayed by the media, that the lesson is the Palestinians need to learn to shoot straighter? And then as you had his staff kind of literally trying to get out the hook and get him to stop talking, you had his press secretary and the admiral that speaks from time to time, and they're both kind of like giving let's wrap this up. The guy's just mumbling, he's bumbling, even more than normal. And at one point, Karine Jean-Pierre says, Mr. President, I want to step on your feet. And he literally turns and snaps at her. Well, then don't! I mean, I'm not a doctor, Joey, but I've seen dementia and Alzheimer's, and it is everything you can expect. But then between the vacant stare and the snappiness and the shuffle, I use the example of the way he walks is, when I used to have to walk, I've got two young boys who aren't young anymore. One's 30, one's 28. But when they were little kids, walking through the living room at night in my bare feet trying to dodge Legos, I did the same shuffle. I didn't want to step on it. So he does the Lego shuffle. And this guy is trying to evoke strength. When he travels to the Middle East, trying to evoke strength. When he goes on 60 Minutes, going to try to evoke strength tonight. I don't know anybody that's watching it that thinks that we're any better off now than we were a couple of years ago, when, as Kip pointed out, inflation was low, our border was closed, our cities were safer,
Yes.
our country was respected, and maybe a little bit feared, which is the way it ought to be. And Kip, I just saw a report today that housing mortgage rates are at the high of like 40 years. My boys and your kids and grandkids, they can't afford to buy a house, not because the houses are more expensive, which they are, but because the mortgage rates are so high. And as Kip mentioned, we're on this brink of bigger disaster, because as those interest rates go up, the interest we have to pay on all the money we're borrowing from China goes up. And it squeezes everything that we can spend on, because we're going to have to be paying interest thanks to Bidenomics. The fact that they're even trying to trot out Bidenomics as a word that anybody should support tells you how disconnected they are with the reality when we go to the grocery store, when we go to the gas station. And of course, gas and food doesn't count in the inflation numbers they're using to try and make things seem better than they are. The bottom line is we've got serious problems in this country. We don't have serious people in the White House. And as I'm watching the disarray in Congress, I'm not sure that other than Andy and a handful that we have much in the way of serious people in Congress. Apparently they've decided to abandon this idea of letting McHenry, the Speaker pro tem, get a little few extra powers and kind of hold the fort. I have respect for Congressman Scalise. He took a bullet, literally, for the cause. But, to be honest, this is a guy nobody had ever heard of before, had never done anything before he got shot. The only way he's famous is because he got shot. That's not a guy that necessarily needs to be Speaker of the House or Majority Leader. And he's, unfortunately, I think McCarthy 2.0. Now, I was one of those who thought McCarthy ought to go. Just not then. It's not the right time. And I'm great friends with Tim Burchett, one of our fellow Tennessee members of Congress, and I've talked to Tim. I said, Tom, it was the right idea. It was the wrong time. You've complained, as he has, and rightly so, that after they passed that continuing resolution, they came back after a long weekend off, and they voted to name 2 post offices. There was no sense of urgency. There was no, okay, now let's roll up our sleeves and get the work done. They came back and did nothing. So I get his frustration. But as I told Tim, you were complaining that we were $33 trillion in debt before you did this. Clue, we're still $33 trillion in debt and don't have a Congress that can cut anything. We're going to get back to that continuing resolution and the omnibus bills that light up things like a Christmas tree, where every member of Congress can get their free bridge or a study on why salamanders like to have sex upside down. There is no excuse for not doing what we need to do if they're serious about the spending being out of control. It is. We spend $8 trillion a year, we take in 5. That doesn't work at my house. Now, it's not trillions, but you can't spend more than you got, particularly when we're paying the Chinese. Right. And now the president today wants to give $100 million to Gaza. I'm going to cut him some slack on that one, though. He just went over to Israel. He got off the plane. He's looking around saying, Palestine? I thought we were going to East Palestine, Ohio. It's easy to get confused if you're this guy and don't know the difference in Palestine and East Palestine, Ohio, that hadn't seen a visit from the president, that hadn't seen $10 million, much less $100 million, to repair the job that Pete Buttigieg did. I mean, at every level, these guys are screwing it up, and there's no hope in sight other than trying to get back control of Congress. Now, my problem with this scheme that they were trying to do earlier today of putting Pat McHenry as the Speaker pro tem in as some sort of a temporary speaker, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. Okay, yeah, I am. But only because they keep coming true. Scalise could have ended this. There's 7 or 8 of his guys that are holding out for him. He could have said, guys, I'm endorsing him. I'm nominating him. I'm for him. Cut the jump and support him. That extra 7 or 8 votes would have moved him ahead and would have got the job done. Scalise isn't doing that. He liked this kind of Speaker pro tem thing because they were going to put in a Speaker pro tem with limited powers, which would have made the Majority Leader the shadow Speaker, the effective Speaker of the House. So Scalise couldn't get the job by winning the votes. He was trying to backdoor get the job through his crony, McHenry, getting out there, taking the, quote, pro tem job, and then all the power was going to go to Speaker in shadow Scalise. And fortunately, they snuffed it out. They realized it was unconstitutional. But that's the kind of games they're playing up there. He's jerking the rug out of under Jordan because he wanted his backdoor way to power. And it's destroying our country. It's keeping us from doing the job we need. And again, in about 30 more days, we're going to have that continuing resolution run out. They're going to extend it. They're going to do the same kind of thing. We're going to get to an omnibus where they keep funding everything, because that's what the swamp wants. They don't want us to cut spending. They don't want us to close the border. They don't want us to stop the unlimited checks to Ukraine. I don't know if any of y'all have been watching some of these videos from Palestine and the Gaza Strip. All these guys waving their weapons in the air. Have you noticed how many of them look strangely like M4s that U.S. military use that had to have come from either Ukraine or from what we left behind in Afghanistan? They don't have M4s at some gun show in Jerusalem. So they're getting them from somewhere, and they're using them against us and our allies in Israel, and it's all because Joe Biden left them behind or is giving Ukraine unlimited money that isn't necessarily flowing to where it needs to go. In addition, I don't know if you heard him today, well, the $100 million that we're going to give Gaza, who are holding American hostages, who murdered Americans, who murdered innocent men, women, and children, we're going to give them $100 million because the $6 billion we've given to Iran, the $3.5 billion we gave them a year or so ago, the $60 billion that they're pulling in oil revenues in excess of the sanctions in place. These guys have an ATM that's cranking out billions, and Joe Biden won't stop it. But he's claiming that this $100 million ban, if they steal that, if they take it and use it improperly, well, we'll know they can't be trusted. What's your first clue, Joe? Is it when they start slitting the throats of babies, raping women, and dragging their dead bodies through town? Then we'll know we can't trust them. And we'll stop giving them more. He's going to apply the same kind of scrutiny and accountability and maybe getting receipts for this $100 million that we're getting for the $130 billion we've given Ukraine, where they won't give us an accounting, where they refuse to give an accounting, they just want more. And tonight he's going to be talking about giving them $100 billion, with most of it going to Ukraine and a little bit going to Israel, and maybe throwing a tip towards Taiwan. So as Scott pointed out, we've got to stop this. And we can only do so much here in Tennessee. This guy, the one in the middle, kind of like the other two, is the guy that can get it done. And like Scott pointed out, we wouldn't be here with these situations if he was still there.
Right on.
But we got a long slog till we get to election day. And we've got to be vigilant. We've got to be speaking up. If you've got kinfolk in these battleground states that Joey mentioned, that's where we got to be pulling our Christmas card list. Who do we know that lives in Pennsylvania, in Iowa, in Arizona, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania? And we need to be doing what Pastor Baker's talking about. Make sure that those Christians in the pews get to the polls on Tuesdays. 17 to 20 million Christian evangelicals, just the Christian evangelicals, sit home on presidential election days. Now that may not matter much in Tennessee, but it sure matters in places like Arizona and Michigan and Pennsylvania, where 20,000 votes are the difference. Our votes were sitting at home. Our votes were talking about what they believe in, but not acting on what they believe in. And it's time for us to act. You know, pastors like Baker are few and far between. I got to tell you, in 2016, I did an operation traveling the country to help turn out Christian evangelical voters. And man, the voters were there. The voters in the congregations were there. They were ready to go. But pastor after pastor after pastor said, can't talk to my church. We can't violate the separation of church and state. We'll have the IRS down on us. It's like, dude, we're not saying to say vote for Trump. We're saying to pray, discern, and vote your religious, spiritual values. That you want to protect life. You want to protect religious liberty. You want to protect the Constitution and have Supreme Court justices that look to the Constitution, not to what the latest poll might say. And we got pastors that wouldn't do that. We had a big bus. We had 3 big buses, actually, that we had in multiple states that had 2 Chronicles 7:14 on the side. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, I will hear your voice, I will heal your land. We had a big cross on our bus. We had a lady come running out one of the churches we came pulling in their parking lot and said, you got to get that Trump bus out of our parking lot. It's like, it's not a Trump bus. I said, that's a cross. They were so fearful. And we are driven by fear in this country right now. wearing masks in your car by yourself. My favorite was the arrows in the grocery store telling me which aisle I could go. And if I walked past peanut butter, I didn't know if I needed to go beep, 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 and back up, turn around, if I could violate the rule and swim upstream. We had the stupidest rules ever, and people followed them. We become a nation of followers. Our founding fathers were not exactly followers. And by the way, can you imagine if they'd had tweets? Ben Franklin would have been lighting those folks up like nobody's business. The fights between Jefferson and Adams, we'd still be reading those and laughing. People talk about how dangerous things are in our political realm these days and how things are out of control and it's more divisive than ever. I hate to remind you, but we had a vice president of the United States shoot and kill our Secretary of State in Hamilton and Burr. We aren't there yet. Now with this administration, that might not be a bad thing, but at least we're not to that point. So when we talk about how fractured and fractious we are, keep in mind that during the American Revolution, a third wanted independence. A third wanted to stay loyal to the king, and a third were saying, I'm gonna wait and see how it turns out and say I was with you all along. That's kind of where we are now. About a third of this country are MAGA. We do want to make America great again. A third are following Rashida Tlaib, wanting to support the killing of babies and murdering of people. And a third are waiting in the middle trying to figure it out. They're confused, they're listening to the media and aren't getting the truth. So we've got to spread the truth. We've got to spread the word, not just here in Tennessee, but across the country. And I'm confident that people like you can do exactly that. And I'm confident that with God's hand, we can actually turn this around. He performs miracles every day. And I'm not just talking about making people walk, make people see. He turns lives, turns heads, turns opinions every day. But it needs a spark. It needs a spark. Most every one of you, I can guarantee, is here tonight because somebody asked you. You didn't see a radio ad, you didn't hear a TV commercial, you didn't see a flyer. Somebody asked you to come. That's how politics really works. People to people. Everybody here is here because somebody asked you to get involved or asked you to come tonight, and that's how we're going to continue to spread this fire across the country. It's going to be us talking to our friends and neighbors, and they say, I don't know about that. Well, I do. And here's some information. Here's some research. Here's some stories that you're not going to see on MSNBC. And that's our job. Again, if my people who are called by my name, he wasn't talking about folks who aren't Christians. If my people, if us, will humble ourselves and turn our face to God, he'll heal our land. It's on us. It's not on our neighbors. It's on us. In decades of doing this political game, how many times have we heard people say, well, somebody ought to do something? No, we ought to do something. I ought to do something. Our founding fathers didn't say, man, somebody ought to do something like King George. They picked up their guns and they went out and they did something. And that's on us in this election. And God will hear our voices and he will hear our land. He keeps his promises. He keeps his promises. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. I appreciate your support for the president. Man, 3 great presidents up there. I've always said Ronald Reagan was the president. I may have to say Donald Trump's right there edging it out on the side. Because Reagan didn't have to take the lies and the assaults and the slings and arrows that this man has been subjected to. He's had more put upon him than any president in history, including Abraham Lincoln. I mean, this guy is carrying the weight on the world, and the push against him is beyond anything that should be considered fair, reasonable, or even acceptable. And yet he's powering on. He's not doing it. He could be sitting in Mar-a-Lago playing 2 rounds of golf today, looking at Melania in a bikini. I'm going to admit I would have taken that option at this point. But he's stepping in there. And again, as he keeps saying, it's not for him, it's for us. And they're not coming after him, they're coming after us. And it's time for us to stand with him, and I appreciate y'all doing that tonight. Rick, if you want, I can have a few questions. Or
if anybody has a question, we'll take 2 or 3 questions. Just stand up and ask Steve a question. Anybody?
Thank y'all again for coming out. Again, as Joey said, there's plenty of places y'all can be tonight. I think the Bachelor Golden era is on tonight, which actually has more energy and vigor than the president's speaking tonight. Yes, ma'am.
Have a question?
Why does Biden want all of these illegal immigrants in our country?
To
Vote for him. They can't vote, but they can.
I think that's the key word, you know, yet, and plus, it just, again, puts the burden and the chaos on our country to distract from all the other things that are going on. And you've even got Democrat mayors of New York saying enough's enough, this is hurting us. They didn't care when they were flowing off and staying in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico. It's amazing how they care when one busload gets shipped to Martha's Vineyard. Then all of a sudden, this is a crisis. This is something we need to worry about. So they're still denying that the border's open. They're still claiming Bidenomics is working. They're still claiming that their foreign policy is on track to whatever track they're on. I think that this has gone beyond ineptitude and incompetence to evil. I think they intend what they're doing because you couldn't do this much bad by accident.
For sure.
And it's working. Yes, sir.
In Tennessee, to get a voter registration, you've got to show a picture ID. Tennessee ID or federal government issued ID. And there are about a dozen different kind of IDs for illegal residents, all sorts of residents, permanent resident, visiting. If they go in to get a Tennessee driver's license with one of those IDs, they will get a Tennessee driver's license. And they will be able to then go ahead and vote by just checking a box and saying they're able to vote. So it's on their honor. So to think they're not going to be voting, they're going to be voting. And if you all would like to sign up and poll watch, I'd be happy to have you help.
Let me underline that, because keep in mind that we dumped tens of thousands of Somali refugees into Minnesota. That's why we have Ilhan Omar. We've dumped them into Dearborn, Michigan. That's why we have Rashida Tlaib. They are not Americans, but they're voting, and they're elected people to Congress that proudly proclaim, I'm a Palestinian. You're supposed to be an American. I'm a Somali. No, you're supposed to be an American. But the refugees are voting them in, and they're bringing more of them in every day. Let me touch on the voting thing for just a second, if I've got it. I recently, a couple months ago, had the opportunity to travel to Russia and observe the elections in the Ukraine portion that is now part of Russia, that is the Donbass region, you may hear in the news, Donetsk, Luhansk, those areas. They were pulled into the Russian Federation last fall by a vote. People went, they voted, said, no, we want to be part of Russia again, like they were originally. People in that area speak Russian. Zelensky didn't learn to speak Ukrainian until after he was elected president. But the people in that region of Ukraine speak Russian. They identify as Russian. And since 2014, the Ukrainian militia and these Azov brigades have been attacking them, shelling them, doing what we saw in Israel this weekend to that area of Ukraine. Not surprisingly, when they had the opportunity to vote to be part of Russia, they overwhelmingly voted it. They were having their first elections to vote in the Russian elections, to vote for their city council members, their metro council members, their state legislators, and their effectively their U.S. Congress, what they call the Duma. And I got to go into their polling places. We were about 20 kilometers from the front lines of where the fighting is still going on, where Ukraine is still shelling these areas that are civilian areas over the front lines. They're not trying to kill soldiers. They're going into areas where, you know, we were going to grocery stores and convenience stores, people walking around the streets. There weren't any soldiers. You know, there weren't more cops than we have in downtown Nashville, certainly not any more than we have on Broadway. It was safe and peaceful, and yet they're still shelling into those areas just to create the kind of havoc that the media pays attention to here, but not there. And so we went into polling places. You know, I could talk to anybody I wanted to. I could take pictures. I've got plenty of them. Happy to show anybody who wants to see them. So they have tables set up just like we do here. And they had, you know, volunteers sitting there that you would show your passport, your photo ID, sign your name, get a paper ballot, cast your vote, go into one of the little curtain spaces, cast your vote, and then you would go slip your ballot into a plexiglass, big glass box that had a little narrow thing where you slipped it in. At the end of the day, they cut the red lock off it, and they counted it right there in that precinct. I visited 7 different precincts. It just looked like here. Here was the big difference. They had video cameras in every precinct of the 10,000 precincts across Russia, live streaming the vote as it's taking place. Anybody anywhere could click on and look at any polling place at any time during the 3 days of voting and see exactly what's going on. Why aren't we doing that here? More importantly, at the end of the day, when they cut the thing off, they start counting the votes. You had the political parties there, you had the candidates there, you had observers there, and the live stream's still on. And in Moscow, we got to see the room where there was bigger than this, actually about 3 or 4 times this size, where the party officials that had candidates on there had big screens in front of them checking on any polling place they wanted to see during the casting and during the counting. They were watching as it happened. Boy, would Joe Biden be president if we'd had that in place?
No.
And I've been attacked sometimes by Republicans for saying the Russians have a better system than we do. I saw it. I didn't see any other reporters there. Interestingly, in 2014, when Crimea became part of the Russian Federation and they had a ballot and votes just like this, CNN was there, NPR was there, Vice was there, the Wall Street Journal was there, the New York Times were there, watching themselves. But this time I got death threats from the Ukrainian government for daring to go watch and then speak. And say, this is what I saw. Here's the pictures. Here's everybody I got to talk to. Our system can be improved. And it wouldn't take anything but a camera and a live stream in every polling place in Tennessee. Or just try it in places like Murray County first and just show this is how it can work. And then when you're counting it at the end of the day, by the way, I don't just go in uncritically. I told the Russian folks we were working with, guys, you're starting to move to electronic voting in Moscow? That's a big mistake. Yeah. Keep what you're doing it right out there. Don't go down this path of electronic voting. They admitted that they had over 20,000 attempts to hack their system in Moscow that single day, mostly from other countries and other governments. So, again, I met earlier this week with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. People were saying, why are you supporting him and endorsing him? I said, as a columnist, as a commentator, as a political analyst, I kind of like to see for myself and listen to myself. I went to Iraq twice. Nobody's, blaming me for being an Iraq propagandist because I went in with the U.S. government and embedded for 2 weeks. I went to Guantanamo Bay. I go to where it is so I can see it, tell you, and say, look, here's what I saw, here's what I know, not what MSNBC or some talking point tells me. So, again, there are people that think Ukraine's right, Russia's right. I don't think Russia's, the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I do know that their election system is leaps and bounds ahead of ours in terms of literal transparency. When you see these boxes that are clear plexiglass, and you can actually see them go in, and when they cut it off, people are watching to see them come out. So, yes, sir, one more.
Yeah, I kind of want to pick your brain. I'm a real big, strong supporter of Israel. In fact, when you were doing the tax thing back years ago down there at the Capitol, they had, after you guys got done, and we got done with that, the Israel had their thing rally right across that road from there. But I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this whole thing with this war in the Middle East? Because the Israeli Defense Force, the top-notch intelligence, Mossad, the CIA, MI6, Saudis have excellent intelligence. Those 5 major intelligence agencies did not know a year planning of a war, not a terrorist attack with 50 terrorists, but thousands coming across. It just doesn't add up. And it's like, I've seen this in the past. You have a war, the president gets built up before the election, and everybody surrounds the president and the leadership. We got to keep him in power because we're in the middle of a war. And now you see what's going on in these cities across the United States, and this is the beginning as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what a lot of these guys have said tonight. We've turned away from God. We've turned away from God's word in this country, and it's like, are we seeing something that we don't want to see heading to the station? And is there something nefarious at the highest levels of the U.S. government that's involved behind this? I just kind of wonder what you think about it. Do you think it's just they just missed it?
Well, when you look at the Biden administration and the cast of characters around him who are so pro-Iran, and they're trying to jam through an ambassador to Israel who is so pro-Iran, has been pushing these kinds of things ahead. It certainly is plenty of smoke that deserves more thorough investigation. I think part of the problem in this case, though, was that, and I mean, a lot of you guys have been in the military or you know, love military history and history in general.
Steve, let's just ask all veterans to stand right
Yeah,
now.
please,
Please
yes.
stand. If you're a veteran,
Thank you. So you guys could probably underline this better than me, but we tend in history to fight the last war, not the next war. And I think that this was an incursion that nobody anticipated. Now, part of our job has to be what could happen. And I know that our intelligence agencies and theirs have these groups, these teams that are there. Okay, what could happen? But does that rise to the level? And it's always easy when you're looking at puzzle pieces after the puzzle's completed to see what the picture is. And when you've got this piece and they're not connected, it's easy to miss, particularly when, again, you're not anticipating 2,500 coming through, cutting in and obliterating civilians like they did. It was not on their this could happen list. So I think that's a big part of it, but I think it deserves a complete investigation. I'm sure the Israelis will do it. As to our intelligence agencies, I'm sorry, they're too busy, you know, focused on moms and book club meetings and school board meetings to focus on the enemies that we have in our capital, in our Congress, in our streets, and you know, Memphis University just had the same kind of protests that we're seeing around the country, around the world, from the river to the sea, wipe out the Israelis, kill them all. This administration does not take it seriously. And I don't know if you saw the news story today that President Biden on his photo op in Israel stood there and met with some of our Delta Force operatives, and they put out a picture without blacking out their faces. They just put those guys at risk because they are either so insensitive to the risk or they don't care. And it doesn't matter which it is, whether it's incompetence or evil. They put our Delta Force operators at risk by a photo op so the president could get his little photo op and put these men at risk, just like happened with Navy SEALs a decade or so ago. So it's beyond impeachment time. My concern is that if we don't get a House Speaker, we're not going to see Jim Jordan proceeding with his committee. We've got people that can run that committee. We need somebody that can run the House and make sure that the committee is moving ahead and that the House Speaker is signing the subpoenas and signing the progress that we need to get this guy out of the White House before he kills all of us. Thank you.
Big round of applause here for Steve Gill. Really appreciate Steve coming out. And so y'all understand the importance of starting tonight. Again, 4 months, 2 weeks, you'll be doing the presidential primary. 1 year from November the 5th, we'll be voting for a new president. So we're down to about a year and 2 weeks. So it's important. Again, the battle is really going to be in other states. So talk to people you know in those states. If you want to volunteer and go knock doors in those states, that will be available. We'll have a lot of opportunity. Tennessee is a volunteer state. I ended up in Georgia after the 2020 elections. I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve in Georgia knocking doors for Laughlin Purdue. Well, you know, depending on what you think about how the election was held or how they did the elections in Georgia, I probably was wasting my time, but I didn't know that, and I love going down there. Anyway, a couple things. Has everyone filled out one of these? We're going to give away a few door prizes at the end. If you have not filled out one of these cards, they're right over here. Just feel free to get up and go do it. I'm going to be giving some door prizes at the end. On your table are one of these cards. I work for Congressman Ogles. Please, there should be enough for everybody to take one home. This tells about what our office offers in the way of federal services. Amy's over here again. Stand up, Amy, with a red jacket on. Kyle in the back. Kyle, please stand up. And Brittany, who works for Senator Haggerty's in the back. Wave one more time, Brittany. But these kind of services you can get help for these kind of services at our office. I know Amy's up there doing a good job. I just got word that they're going to vote Friday, tomorrow, for Jordan. Again, I mean, they're going to have another election for Speaker tomorrow. And that'll be sometime tomorrow. Unfortunately, Biden's been on TV tonight telling us what a great job he's doing on the war, I guess. But I'm glad we're all here. I didn't want to see that. Now, people that are running for delegate for Trump, either statewide or the 5th District, please come up. I want you to introduce yourself. I think we got 4 people. So I want you to come up, introduce yourself, tell us just 2 minutes where you're from, why you're running. These folks are going to be delegates to the National Convention next year in Minneapolis, okay? And they will help decide what the platform is and things like that. And they have to get out and campaign. They'll be on the ballot with you. You'll vote for Trump, and then you get to select delegates under that in the 5th District and statewide. So I'm going to start with Vince over here from Marshall County, and we'll go over here.
Appreciate it, Rick. Good to see everybody tonight. I'm glad I'm in a room full of Trump supporters. My name is Vince Cuevas. I'm from Marshall County. I'm the Marshall County Young Republicans chair over there. I used to be a commissioner in Marshall County. But what I wanted to say was the greatest day of my life, besides retiring from the Air Force, was when I opened my packet and it was signed by Donald J. Trump. Wow. So it was the greatest day of my life. I retired in 2020, and like most of the speakers said, the key term, I guess you could say, is peace through strength. And I know Trump said it a lot when he was president. I got some of these cards. If you'd like one, come see me afterwards. On the back, they got the dates for the primary and elections. They got my contact if you ever want to call and talk, and all my social media platforms. I'd appreciate your vote, and I'll let the next one go.
Okay. The next person to speak is Lulu Elam. Again, remember, she's the reason we have this beautiful mural tonight. She brought it down and brought those flags. It's hard to keep them up on the wall there, but Lulu Elam's running for delegate.
Hi, thank y'all for letting us just say hello to you. I'm actually from Davidson County, and I'm on the Tennessee GOP. I'm committee woman for Senate District 21. I am very excited to run for delegate. I believe that the only solution to the problems that we have are this man behind us. And I think we all know that. And really, not a lot more needs to be said about that. I sure would appreciate your vote on March 5th, and I look forward to casting that vote for Donald Trump, because you're going to vote for him, and then we're going to get him in that presidency. Again.
Next, we have Brad Lytle. Brad is the former Republican Party chairman in Wilson County, and they don't have a Reagan Day dinner. They have a Trump dinner in Wilson County every year, and we'll be having that next year, I think, right? All right, Brad, come on up. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you're running for.
My name is Brad Lytle. I was the chairman of the Wilson County Republican Party until I stepped down so that the vice chairman could move up to the chairperson, as Senator May Beavers. And as most of you know, some of you know, the chairman of the party cannot endorse. Okay, so I found myself in a quandary because I'm Trump all over, up and down. So I wanted to endorse Trump. I also, and he's going to win the primary no matter what. Right. They can't stop him. Even if he's in jail, he can get out and pardon himself. So there's no way they're going to stop him. But there's another thing that takes place at the Republican National Committee, and that's our platform. Yeah. Now, I'm first a Christian, second a conservative, and I'm a Republican because I believe in what they say. And that's contained within the platform, which is the same platform they had in 2016, very, very conservative document. They didn't change it in 2020 because the governor of Florida canceled the meeting so that they couldn't go down there. So we have the 2016 platform, which is the most conservative platform ever from the Republican Party, and I want to see it stay the same. They're doing, you know, it says one man, one woman in a marriage, and they want to make it two people. There are a lot of liberals in the Republican National Committee, and they're the ones we need to take out and replace them with other people, but we need to get conservatives at the convention, and I plan to go there as your representative to represent conservative Christian values at the Republican Party.
Thank you, Brad. By the way, I think you can vote for, how many, 4 or 6 and...
3 out of 6.
How many?
3 out of 6.
3 candidates?
6 Trump delegates.
Okay.
There could be 6 delegates for each candidate that makes it.
Okay, all right. So these people are running kind of against each other, but several of them, you can vote for several of them. You won't have to pick between them, so that makes it good too. And some of them might have their petitions here tonight, that maybe hadn't turned them in. They might ask you to sign them too. So if you want to do that, you can see them afterwards. Our homegrown girl that works all the time and has helped me tremendously with this, Lana Hines, is running for delegate too. Lana? These people might not know you. You might be proud who you are.
Hi. Thank you to the delegates that have showed up tonight. I know whoever you all vote for, we're all going to work very, very hard for Trump. I think it's really important that we understand that this man back here is our modern day Patrick Henry. Are you all familiar with him? Give me liberty or give me death. I would suggest that all of you go home and read the very last paragraph of his speech. If you want me to, I can read it to you. It's very brief. But as a woman voting, or as a woman on the ballot and running for delegate, I think it's important that he have somebody just as strong as he is that will have his back. He can't have wishy-washy Republicans standing behind him. He's going to need us. And we're going to have to be the ones standing up and saying, go pound sand. If you want to get soft, we can't do that. We are voting for Trump. We're voting for what he wants, and we're going to do what he wants us to do. Like Brad said, the platform is the most important thing to me as well. Marriage between a man and a woman, there's no room for LGBTQ stuff. There's just not. We're here in a place in our country, it's unrecognizable. And it's because of the leadership. If we don't have a strong leader, we had one when he was there. Well, mortgage rates were low, gas was low, there was more freedom, we were more respected over the planet. Everywhere on the planet we had respect, and we were feared with healthy fear. This baboon that we have in Congress, the baboons we have in Congress on the left in the Senate and on the left in the House, it's a joke. And they get their marching orders from our commander-in-chief who can't find his way to the Pope. I'm sorry, I call him President Poopy Pants. He's just awful. But we need a leader. And we had one. And he never took a paycheck. Ever. Ever. He is one of the most wealthy men in America, and he walked away from his job. Walked away from his income. Walked away, told his family, be ready. And let me remind you, Jill Biden, call me Dr. Jill. She speaks, what, English. Melania spoke 5 languages and never made the cover of Vogue. Ever. So I just want you to hear, this is, to me, what exemplifies our president. And I hope you vote for me. Any one of us would be great delegates. But when I read this paragraph, I want you to hear what Patrick Henry said, because it sounds like him. And we gotta be ready, y'all. We gotta be ready. We are watchmen on the wall. If you don't know that, go read your Bible. We are the last, he's our hope. Jesus Christ is our salvation and our hope. But he needs somebody to help him. And we need to help him. So this is what this speech says. Just if you'll give me a minute. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north would bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Hello? Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, God Almighty. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty, or what? Give me death. I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you very much. Real quickly, a few more things. Tina over here is handling the merchandise. Would you hold up a hat? Let everybody see a hat. I think Kip, you got yours on back there? Yeah, Kip's got his on. There might be, he has a hat on here. They're $20 a piece. You can see her after this. We have the button there. It just looks like, just like Brad's shirt. Brad, where's your shirt? Brad, yeah. So we have buttons for sale. They are $10, and then yard signs with a wire to go in them is $5. So, and then we have like a Super Bowl ring. How much are those? They're $85. If you want one of those, it's a Trump ring. I'm surprised Steve wasn't wearing one tonight when he got up. Oh, there it is. You got it? No, you have it on? No. So anyway, we have those afterwards. You can see her about that. And let's see. Right now, we understand. We know where we are about Israel and what's going on. I would like to get David Baker to come up again and pray. Let's have a prayer for Israel. So everybody be quiet. We'll have David come up and have a prayer for that, and we'll be about ready to be out of here.
Psalm 122, verse 6 says, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. You look and see one reason why God's made America great is because we've supported Israel. And every president that has ever gone against Israel, like George Herbert Walker Bush did, Kenny Bunkport, the perfect storm happened. When George W. Bush did, Katrina happened. You follow that down. Anytime America goes against Israel, God goes against America. And we need to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we need you always to breathe and to sustain. God, we need you to help support Israel. God, we know that you're a chosen people and you have a purpose in what you're doing. God, I pray that our country will support them in the way they need and back them up and give them the supplies so they can resupply and attack their enemies. I pray that you would keep it from a regional war. I don't think our president could lead in a war. We need someone, if we do go to war, that could be a commander-in-chief. Lord, we pray that we would support him in our prayers, support the peace. Lord, that we could get the hostages out of Gaza, get the Americans back, and stop the brutal animals from destroying children and women and innocent civilians and bombing their own hospital and blaming it on the Israelis. Lord, we need you. We need your help. Lord, I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Please help us to support them with prayers and anything we can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, David. I really don't have much else to add except I want to remind everybody, Saturday, November the 4th, the Ricky Kelly's Harley Davidson